Today we are going to be looking at sensory gloves, so filling kind of medical style gloves with different ingredients to create a sensory experience, a bit like these ones. So I've got one here with dry oats and another one with uncooked rice. I took a box of these to the autism show and I had 4 of them in different segments of a box where you had to stick your hand in and try and guess what was inside each of them. And I got really positive feedback, but the most interesting was people saying, I'd love to do this in my classroom, how did you do it? So I thought I'd do a short video just to explain how I came across it and what I do to make sure the kids get the most out of it. When I was working in a mainstream school, the SEN department had a limited budget, so we could get sensory toys and there was a budget for that, but we also wanted to provide extra enrichment and more interesting, exciting activities, whether it was things around the classroom or specific interventions through the day. So I saw a pack of these gloves because it was during COVID, and so we had gloves everywhere, and I just thought it would be interesting. I've seen lots of videos and clips of people putting stuff in them before or blowing them up to create a balloon. So I filled them up with a couple of different things I found around the classroom, and I just hung them in our sensory corner with, I think it was like a bubble lamp and some other sensory bits. There was some bean bags. And I found that not only did the children I was working with, the neurodivergent children, go over and sit with them and spend their calm time there, actually a lot of the neurotypical children would just go and sit in the corner, have a little downtime, and then go back into playing with the rest of the kids. So I found them to be a really fun but really simple way of engaging children and getting them to sit and calm down, or to give them one to distract them as essentially a free sensory toy during intervention sessions or during lessons when we're learning about something but they want to keep their hands busy. You can fill these gloves with whatever you want to, whether it's water, oats, rice, paint, all sorts of different things. But be careful of things that are cooked and might smell. So we did originally try this with cooked oats to try and make a different texture, but my cat got into them and we didn't realise that's what happened. So we could smell something really, really bad in the kitchen. And we spent ages trying to work out what it was. We cleaned the whole kitchen, discovered that one of the gloves had been broken into. So we try and avoid things that have the potential to go off effectively. So the best things are things that would sit in your cupboard, something that if it spilt, it wouldn't be too much of a mess to clean up. We also always do double gloves. So I'd put on one glove, she says, and then I would get a second glove, put it on top, and I can then take it off as a double glove. Quite difficult. But if you do this before you start with the kids, it then means that if the outer glove breaks, that you can fix it before it spills all over your classroom or all over your house. And it just increases the strength a little bit, because when you're playing with something sensory, you often want to move it around and flex it, and so this just helps avoid those initial problems. Now that you've got a double glove, you can choose something to put in it. So there's a couple of ways you can do this, and you may want to do it with the kids as an activity. So if you've already got your gloves, you may want to get the kids to try putting on 2 gloves or testing them out. You can try blowing into them to make the balloon. And with a singular glove, you can blow it all the way up and leave it as a balloon. And tie it off either with an elastic band or tying off the end like you would a balloon. So this is just a fun, simple one and something that the kids can try themselves. With children who struggle controlling your breath, you might want to put the end over an air pump like you would use for a football or for an airbed. And you can just attach it to the pump with an elastic band so they can do the pumping action, and that's their independence without having to put any mouths onto the glove. And also with the end of the gloves being quite large, it can be quite difficult for a lot of children to understand how they need to put their lips around it to make the air go in. So that's our first one, is an air glove. Secondly, we're going to look at how we might want to fill it. So there's a couple of options depending on the mobility and the fine motor skills of the children you're working with or the children in your home. So you can start by just getting the child to hold it, or you holding it and them filling it. We're going to start off with looking at rice. This is really simple because it's dry, and if it drops you can hoover it or brush it up. If you either hold the glove yourself or you can get the child to hold the glove, and it's really easy just to use a spoon. You might want to put a funnel in the top if that's something you've got access to, and it doesn't have to be a normal spoon. If you've got adaptive spoons for the children you work with, that can also work really well. So you're literally just going to pour the rice into the glove and try and fill up all of the fingers individually until you get something like the one I made earlier where it's full to the brim and you tie off the top. Always recommend tying the top because it creates a seal that you don't always get with an elastic band or a hair bubble around the top. The other thing you can do is line the inside with glue before tying it with an elastic band, which just kind of helps it stick together to stop all of the rice or whatever else is inside coming out. Another method for making it more accessible, so your hands are free and the child has got the use of both of their hands, is putting a glove inside something like a jar or a jug and then stretching it over the top, making sure to put your hand in to fill out the air before you seal it. This means that they can then leave this on the table and they've got both of their hands free, and you're able to guide them or model what you want them to do in order to fill up the glove independently. A really good example for this is if I'm going to fill a glove with water. So I've got my glove in the jar and I can pour the water in using a jug in whatever way is most accessible to me. Ooh. And then when I'm done, I can just peel off the gloves at the top and tie it off, and spill it all over myself. It's a little bit harder to judge the amount of water in there because you've got the air trapped from sealing the top. But once you're done, you can tie off the top as you would with a balloon or with your elastic band, and that's your gloves. One of the best ways to display a sensory glove is by hanging it. So just tying some string around the top and tying it to a bar or a batten, maybe to the underside of a table so that children can sit on the floor and hold it, or if you've got children who require being in a chair or a wheelchair, hanging it higher up so they can reach it from where they are. You can also try what we did at the show, putting it in a box so the children have to try and guess what's inside each one. You may want to make the gloves one day and then mix them up, and the next day the children can try and guess which thing is in each glove. All in all, it's a really simple and a bit of fun. It's sensory, but also it doesn't require the children to get anything on their hands. So if they struggle with things being wet or sticky, it's not an activity that they will be struggling with because of that. It's also really good for our fine motor skills and being able to direct where a spoon or a jug is pouring the contents into. And the final product is fun and interesting, and you can change the contents, so it's always something new, it's always something different. I hope that explains everything that you wanted to know about sensory gloves, and we will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.